The idea that young people do not engage with the news today is merely a social stereotype, and while it is true that many young people may not watch or listen to what is called classic news, they find their information and news from alternative news sources which may be suited to their demographic. The idea that young people are not socially aware or not interested in current events is not a new concept. It's just the latest in a long series of moral panics designed to demonize youth. As Harrington explains, a reason that many young people may not be interested in traditional news is because traditional news is invariably the perpetrator. Sensationalist programs such as A Current Affair continually point out how teenagers are bad citizens, menaces to society, with the Paxtons in 1996 being a prime example. This alone would be a reason not to watch it for a teenager. In fact, while young people may be switching off conventional news programs, they're switching on to a brand new series of television shows that do not brand them as the menaces to society. The concept of popular shows such as The Chaser's War and Everything and Good News Week is to entertain as well as inform, give it entertainment value, and Harrington states that they further blur the distinction between the genres that can inform and the genres that can entertain on television. And many theorists who claim that young people do not engage anywhere at all have shown to have flaws in their arguments. Tim Mendick, in his 2005 book Tuned Out: Why Americans Under 40 Do Not Engage with the News, says that while 44% of young Americans could point out George W. Bush as the Republican candidate for the 2000 election, a person may hear a candidate's name from any number of sources, including friends and family, gleaning tidbits from the news without necessarily getting a deeper understanding. Mindick has in fact disvalued word-of-mouth theory by saying this. The survey showed that nearly 45% of young people opened their ears and knew who Bush was, which, simple or not, is still the consumption of news. This further refutes Mindick's theory and shows that there is a lot more to news consumption than simply reading the newspaper. While it is clear that young people do consume news in some levels, they also happen to now have the power to produce it. For the past 50 years, wealthy news tyrants have controlled mass media. Harrington, however, says in Lecture 7 that, thanks to the World Wide Web, the passivity of the old news system is giving way increasingly to interactivity. The World Wide Web has also given rise to citizen journalism, where anyone can be involved in the spreading of news. This has led to actual news stories, including one may look no further than Barack Obama's disparaging comments about Pennsylvania when it was leaked to the web via mobile phone. Another example of citizen journalism is the cable TV show Current TV, which Jonathan Gray states in his article, Is New News Better Than No News? Many of these segments are filmed by young people, many who are international, and the channel encourages these submissions of what they call viewer-created content. Current TV, therefore, is definitely a good example of how citizen journalism can give a voice for young people and how to allow them to control the news. Furthering on what Harrington stated, the media landscape is definitely flatlining, to a point where the conventional lines of producing and consuming are blurred. Axel Brums, who coined the term producage, defines it as the old producer-consumer relationship being synergized so that an individual can play both roles at the same time. While there are detractors to citizen journalism claiming that it is amateurish and overhyped, these criticisms of power being taken from the rich and few to the many are far too recognizable, with such examples being the Gutenberg Bibles and the rise of punk music, to paraphrase Harrington again. These are just a few examples of how young people can get their voices heard in the new media. In short, to say that young people don't absorb in the news like they used to is to lie, because it has been shown that they simply use alternative methods to gain understanding. And furthermore, there is enough evidence to say that in many cases young people are now actively involved in the creation of news, refuting the age-old moral panic about the youth and their understanding of the world around them.